It's Sunday night. It's 8 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob in Toronto, and with me at the moment, I have Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw. Shawn, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks, Gary.
Right, Muffler Mike will be with us, but he's having some trouble with getting on and a few other things and, the weather and whatever. But he'll be with us at some point, we hope. Mike, we miss you.
He's trying.
Mike, we miss you. He's trying. He'll be here. I have faith. Busy week this week. My gosh, busy week. We had 10 games in the NLL plus 4 in the ALL. We had OLA, AGMs, and any other letter you can think of, as well as some news along the way. Oh, wait. This just in. Mike has made it. Mike,
he did
it.
Did it.
And Brian is with us, too. Brian, welcome.
Hey, Brian.
They're all coming, man. They're all coming. How are you, Mike?
I'm all right.
That's always good. Hey, I like that jersey on your door.
Yeah.
I took a meeting yesterday. Yes, I did. But,
it's
luckily
very much
for me,
We are all our biggest beating for that team.
I learned how to count a little bit more, and I learned, how to spell again, and it was great. Yeah, I'm hoping to learn something other than box. Cat, dog, rutabaga, something, box. I got it. Anyways, I just actually, the Buffalo fans were very well behaved in Toronto, or Hamilton. So it was actually a pretty good showing. We heard them. The Toronto fans cheered too. We heard them. The only thing is one got to cheer more than the rest. But, hey. I don't know what language you're talking to me there, Brent. What the jersey can't see it. Got it. Oh, you're talking about mine.
Oh, mine?
Mike's got a Buffalo.
If he's asking about mine, yeah, it's a Buffalo Bandits, but it's a military-themed jersey from a game they had with Rochester.
Mine is an old All-Star jersey from, the All Pros from Zone 8. So it's over here in Ontario Ball. So, Mike, they're talking about you. There you go. We don't care about me. I'm used to it. Anyways, whoa. They keep coming in. There you go. While I have everybody, just a reminder that all of our shows are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, also Twitch, also on Spotify on the next day. Remember to hit subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. Please enjoy all of our affiliates across Streampunk Entertainment Network. If you missed a show, no problem. You can grab all the shows on YouTube, which includes Streampunk Cinema, Streampunk Combat, Streampunk Sports, as well as All Across All the Time, in which please subscribe, please tell your friends, please tell your family, please tell everybody down the street, where you will find retro games, interviews, library of shows, press conferences, fights, all kinds of things, and more coming all the time. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting streampunkentertainment.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Also, a reminder that the show is brought to you by 60. 60 is Canada's newest and most exciting sports uniform and teamwear brand, delivering top quality uniforms and teamwear that reflects the spirit and identity of each team. Their commitment to innovation and style sets them apart, ensuring that every customer experiences the perfect blend of style and functionality. Unleash your greatness with 60. Also, remember to add Lax Talk 10 to all of your orders for a 10% discount on your order. How do you get there? Well, 1 is the QR code that's in the center of your screen. 2 is on Instagram at sweet_60. 3 is info.sweet60@gmail.com. And lastly, of course, you can go right to their website at www.sweet60.ca/60. Jim will be happy to work with you and any and all of your designs, whether it be teamwear, whether it be just loungewear, whether it's golf shirts, whether it's anything to do with apparel. So give them a shout. Tell them we sent you. No problem, Brian. I have the same problem. Darn thick fingers. I'm just happy to get to know things out nowadays. Anyways, we got a little bit of news. Remember, Lacrosse Day in Peterborough, upcoming over on May 30th, up by the Peterborough Memorial Arena. Great day of lacrosse. You're going to get the members of the Lacrosse Peterborough in there. The big one is at 4:30 in the afternoon, Legends of Lacrosse, and they're going to have a game. 7 o'clock in the evening, if you aren't able to make any of the other stuff, you want to be there at Sticks, which is right across the street from Memorial Arena. And it is at a little tiny pub, which we have the pre and post games from the Lakers games. And the Legends will be there with stories, talking to you about all the trials and tribulations. And I love it. I sit there for hours before and after games, chatting with them about different things. And all of it is to do with stories. And a lot of the interview shows are all about stories, never about stats. You can look up stats yourself. It's about the stories, the trials, the tribulations, the funny stories. And we have a hoot. And you're not going to want to miss this. This is worth everything right there. So thank you to Ernie Element once again for doing that. And of course, this is for Special Olympics Peterborough. Let everybody win on this one. Also, coming up in over March break, you're going to have Ty Kurtz's. Well, let's get up there. There it is. The Oshawa Firewolves training camp over spring break, hosted by Ty Kurtz. It is March 16th to 20th. And location is the Yard. $195 per player. Please get in touch with the Firewolves, and you can get a hold of them at firewolves.com. Also, now that we're coming into summer season, the Hamilton Senior Bengals have tryouts coming up at Toronto Rock Athletic Center. If you think you can do Senior B, why don't you give them a show and over at seniorbengals@gmail.com and let them know that you are coming out, whether it's going to be April 11th at the Toronto Rock Athletic Center or April 14, 21, 28, May 5th at the Mountain Arena. May 5th, that's interesting since the season starts on May 2nd. But hey, I don't think the first game of the Bengals is till the 9th, so you have an opportunity. A few milestones, guys. Cody Jamieson, 900 career loose balls as of this weekend. Not bad. Larson Sundown had his 100th career assist. We had a few additions and subtractions to teams. The biggest one was, I think, with Las Vegas and Kevin Crowley signing on there. The one that went under the radar was, of course, Therese Gibson also signing with Vegas. Both made immediate impacts over the weekend and are still doing what they can do best. Philadelphia jumped in with a few things. Number one, they signed Ron John, which we were wondering how quickly he'd go. Well, he's gone. And I think he will be a big addition there. Now, talk about a few subtractions. Well, and seeing this firsthand, Nick Rowlett played with the Rock yesterday and did a really good job against Farrell on faceoffs. It was almost at 50%. Pretty amazing. But the Rock receive him, and in return, the Wings receive a 2026 fourth-round pick. But the Wings weren't done there. The Wings also received Dylan Hutchison from the Desert Dogs, and in return, the Desert Dogs get a third-round pick in 2028. So Philadelphia has been busy before the deadline. And, Mike, you think they made a lot of good moves?
I'd say so. At this point, it's anything you can do to. I mean, granted, they split this weekend. They're 3-9 now, so salvaging the season might be a little too late. But at least you're positioning yourself for next year, and that defense is going to be a little more stout with Ron John and Dylan Hutchison in there. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, and you're also setting yourself
and no point holding on to two face-off guys. It's clear they're going to go with Bo Columbus. They drafted him for a reason. So,
yeah, I've been very high on Bo Columbus too. But you know what? I wasn't that astute at how good Nick Rowlett is on faceoffs, and this obviously shows us that TD Erlin isn't coming back anytime soon. So,
yeah, he's had a much improved season from last year, especially at the dot.
Well, you're going against Colin Farrell right off the hop, and that's one of the best in the league, and you're almost holding your own at 50%. I guess about 42% if I have my numbers right. That's not bad. No. That is comparable to anybody that is a top rank face-off guy. So, but I like Philadelphia.
It's possessions for a team that ranks dead last in the league in shots per game. So they'll take what they can get, I would think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. We also had Warren Hill with one more milestone at 5,000. This actually was from last week, but 5,000 career minutes played. Now I guess it's 5,060. So, but that's a great accomplishment too. All righty. We before we go to the John looked good last night. There you go. And Brian likes to trade, so I would say so, man. Like to see that they're actually trying to do something and move forward. Shawn, what's your take on all this?
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit surprised they didn't look more towards the offensive side of things a bit, but still, I mean, you can't argue with picking up a guy like Ron John. That's definitely going to make you better automatically there. So, like you said, at least they're not staying stagnant. That's the important thing, I think, especially when you're struggling. Yeah.
Coming into the trade deadline, if you're getting a leg up, because if you wait too long, you know how this all goes. If you wait too long, then you're watching other teams pick up everybody, and you're going, man, I should have. And that's not happening. All right, ALL. We're coming down to the final weeks. I believe there's 2 more weeks left. We had 4 games this weekend, and some interesting things going on. The first game that happened was Brampton and Peterborough Friday night, and Brampton won 16-11. But what was really magical for Peterborough is John St. John was traded there a couple of weeks ago. Well, he's starting to mesh in with the players there, and some of the goals that were scored there were just absolutely, highlight real goals if there is such a thing in the ALL. And they're starting to mesh and be on the same page, which means that come 2 weeks from now when playoffs are beginning, Peterborough's all running on the same draft, and that is going to be dangerous for whoever faces them. But Brampton, with a big third quarter, outscoring Peterborough 6-1 in that quarter, winds up winning 16-11. And a little bit of controversial because I think Brampton took something like 6 penalties in a row in that third quarter. And Peterborough took six penalties in a row, and Brampton had 3 power play goals in that thing. So a little bit iffy on the deal there, but overall, Brampton is a juggernaut and a defending champion. Zach Sunderland for Brampton was the number 1 star in this game. 5 goals, 5 assists, and it's just who's next in this one. James Whiteford, 2 goals, 4 assists. Tyler Halls, 2 goals, 3 assists. For Brampton. It is next man up mentality there. They're just so deep that anybody can be the star week in, week out. We move into an interesting game on Saturday, the early game in Children's Arena, which was the Six Nations Snipers, who look good of recent, against the Oshawa Outlaws, who have been trying to redefine themselves now that John St. John isn't part of their lineup. And Six Nations jumped out to a 10-4 lead, almost at the halfway point. And Oshawa, to their credit, climbed back with Zach Terry and Luke Laskowitz as the leaders there. And they not only tied it with 1:48 left, But Reed Chamberlain for Oshawa scored 32 seconds into overtime and stole this game away from the Snipers. And the Oshawa Outlaws win 15-14 in overtime. The Oswego Bears faced the Toronto Monarchs over a track on Saturday afternoon. And Oswego was coming off 4 losses in a row and really was looking like they were, kind of hitting to rock bottom. And over the last couple of weeks, they have put together a couple of wins in a row, and they beat the Toronto Monarchs, who've been having a bit of a tough time also recently. But they beat them 10-8, and that is their 4th win in a row now for Oswego. What can I say? They have found it, and they're getting hot at the right time. Lane Smith was the big gun for Oswego with 5 goals and an assist. Stephen Portelli with 2 goals and 2 assists. Xander De Laurent with a goal and assist. Eddie Renault had a goal as well. For the Monarchs, I'm wondering, it's been a couple of really rough weeks for them. Riley Ford had 2 goals. Jordan Dance, 2 goals, 1 assist. Ty Jesso with a goal. Jonathan Gagliardi with a goal. Cohen Jennings as well as Mason Kaminga also with singles. But they're not giving up a lot of goals, but they're not scoring many. And that could be a real problem walking into the playoffs situation. We had one more game Saturday, and that was it for the week. And that was the red hot, almost white hot, Whitby Steelhawks against the Paris River Wolves in the late game in Oshawa Saturday evening. Well, this was over early. Whitby jumped out to a couple of goal lead early. It was 3-0 in the first 5 minutes of the game. Paris, to their credit, kept fighting. They got a couple of goals back, but just too strong with too many weapons was Whitby. By the half, it was 12-5, and it got uglier from there. The second half was 9-1 for Whitby, who was actually putting on the brakes in the second half. So it's I don't know, man. Whitby just is so strong. They look so good. Liam Osborne had 5 goals and 3 assists in this game. Parker Pfeiffer, 3 goals, 5 assists. Devin Pfeiffer, 2 goals, 4 assists. Tyler Goodchild, 3 goals, 3 assists. Jonah Kerr, 2 goals, 1 assist. Quinn Hyland with 2 goals and an assist as well. They had goals from 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 different scorers in this game. So you want to talk about up and down the lineup. Justin Bragg had a goal on defense in transition as well. Eddie Ferred also in transition. Jordan Sturos in transition as well with a goal and 2 assists. So, look out. Liam Osborne had been playing both sides. And like I said, he had 5 goals in this game. There's just so many weapons in this game. And in this game, Ryan Shikowski had the start, and he only gave up 6 goals. Between him and Ethan Harwood, I think we have the goalies of the year as well, because they've both been absolutely unbelievable from about week 3 onward. And wow. If we look at the power rankings for this week, of course, Whitby's sitting at number 1, Brampton number 2. The Toronto Monarchs are still sitting at number 3. Peterborough clamoring at them at 3A, really, but at number 4. Oswego has jumped up another spot in 5th. Oshawa jumped up a spot in 6th. Six Nations jumped down 2 spots in 7th. And Paris is sitting in 8th. Next week, we have a big week going on. We have Brampton hosting Six Nations on the Friday night. On Saturday, over in Oshawa, you have the Paris River Wolves facing the Peterborough Timbermen. Over in track, you have the Oshawa Outlaws facing the Toronto Monarchs, and that just became a really big game. And Toronto's going to look to right the ship there. On Sunday, there's 2 games over at the ILA. This game became interesting also. You have the Whitby Steelhawks facing the Oswego Bears in the early game, and the Brampton Express facing the Six Nations Snipers in the late game. This will catch up all of the snow games. So there are a number of games that you want to circle on your calendar. Remember, if you are looking for a game and can't make it to it, you can take a look at the arenalacrosseleague.ca website, and you're going to catch all the YouTube games there. But if you have an opportunity to go live and see it, do it. Because, man, you are going to see NLL caliber play for not NLL caliber prices. I believe it's $10 for an adult, $5 for kids under 14. Just absolutely worth your time watching the next generation of players. Remember, the ALL has put something like 30 players into the NLL, East and West. And these players have stayed. So to take a look at the developmental in there is absolutely spot on. And I really believe that this is an essential part of the growth and watching these guys go up and becoming and staying pros and learning how to be pros. So give it an opportunity, give them a chance, have a look at the games live. Plus, you never know who's going to be at the arena. It's a who's who of lacrosse royalty at these places. Or just kicking back in an afternoon and catching some good lacrosse. So have a look. All righty. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that tweet from Dawson Nielsen, and it was a great idea, right? A winner take all, Canada, U.S., having 3 games, 1 box, 1 field, 1 sixes. Definitive winners of all 3, take it. That's a pretty interesting idea, I think.
Yeah.
Mike, what do you think?
I think you need to make it a round robin with the Haudenosaunee.
That's a great idea.
Good point. Yeah.
That's a great idea. That's a really good idea. Now we have to start
not to not to go off on a tangent and potentially dim things, but the Winter Olympics just ended. We're 2.5 years out from LA 28. Why have we not heard anything about the Haudenosaunee yet getting accepted?
Right.
I'm just we can treat that as rhetorical,
yeah.
but I asked this question a year and a half ago or whenever it was that Lacrosse Sixes was chosen to be showcased at LA 28 and said the IOC needs to get on it immediately. Figure it out. We haven't heard a peep out of them. And that's concerning to me.
Right.
So the IOC.
There's the IOC you're talking about. So.
The IOC, the one who doesn't even recognize lacrosse, right? Hardly. But we'll see.
Yeah.
They're going to have big numbers, so they're going to have to recognize it. Now, talking about sixes, we're in the middle of the PLL big tournament championship series. And after one weekend, California, the Redwoods are up in the standings, 2 wins to nothing. Denver and New York are tied one win each. And the Carolina Chaos are in the rear at 0-2. Next weekend, again, we have another slate of games and playoffs. So Thursday, New York is facing California. Friday, Boston is facing Chaos. And we have another Friday game. New York. That's odd. Yeah, New York against California again. Weird. Saturday is TBA, of course, playoffs on Sunday. So it's on ESPN Plus. It's on TSN Plus. So why not give it a look? Alrighty. We had a busy week in NLL. This was our week, was it, Mike?
Whose week was it? Guess that depends on, depends on pick'ems. I think my caption says it all.
My week.
Because clearly my buy and sell teams are not doing what I expected they would do. So,
well, when the magic number for us is 4.
This was bizarre week.
Not a good
this
thing.
was bizarre week completely.
If you're paying your mortgage on what we're betting, I'm sorry that you're homeless. I hope it gets more.
I do have final numbers if you want me to run through them today, because today's game did go final right at the start of the show. So, Caden managed to go 7-3 this week. Shawn went 6-4. Pat 5-5, and Gary and I both went 4-6. So updated season standings have Shawn in the lead at 53-28. It's pretty impressive. You're almost a 67% clip there.
I was worried about this week though.
Pat is 3 games behind, 50-31. Gary and Caden are 3 games behind Pat at 47-34, and I am in my usual basement position at 44-37. I am 7 games over 500. So
we have to look at the bright spot here.
It's a raised basement. We'll call it a split.
Well, I'm doing my damnedest to make it down to you. It's sad to say that in week 3 I peaked, and from then, if you look at my chart, it was this, and it's a roller coaster slide all the way down the hill.
I'm just waiting for that for myself now, Gary. Just waiting for that one bad week now.
One bad week is when I've had 4 of them in a row or something like that. I had one good week, and that's the one we all had the same, right? So that really didn't get me anywhere. But let's start off with Friday night, and we had Georgia and Philadelphia. And, Brett Dobson went under 7 for his goals against after this game.
Yeah, shutting out the Wings in the first quarter. They don't get a goal until about 2+ minutes into the second quarter. And that offense, unfortunately, just struggling. 3 goals in each half and an 11-6 loss. Bright spot, as we were talking about, Bo Columbus on faceoffs, 14-21. And their power play, 2 out of 3. But again, 45 shots on net. This team ranks dead last in shots per game. So, we talk about the offensive woes. That's part of it. It is, 45 shots per game. You need to be shooting at, 33% efficiency.
Well, again, you're looking at Joe Terrace with 12 shots on net and no goals.
Yeah, with that many shots,
I'm even hearing it from the
33% efficiency to have 15 goals scored.
Yeah,
and we know teams aren't shooting at 33% efficiency. They might do it a game here, a game there, but they're not going to sustain it over a season for sure. And not against the guy who should be the clear favorite at this point. Barring some epic collapse down the stretch here, should be not only goaltender of the year but league MVP.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe the league won't want to award both of those to the same player, but they need to rethink it. if that's the case, because he's making a clear case, and I understand it'll be the second time in 4 years that a goalie would be named MVP, and that's pretty unconventional. But I mean, let's face it. I mean,
He's putting video game numbers up right now.
yeah. The league did post. I think the record for the lowest regular season GAA was Aaron Bold in 2014 or 15, and whatever that number is, Brett Dobson's about 2 goals below that right now. So we're talking otherworldly numbers here.
Eduardo, good to have you with us.
Thanks, Eduardo.
Eduardo.
But yeah, like Shawn was saying, Blaze Reardon, 1 assist. Joe Resetarits, 1 assist. Phil Caputo had a goal. Michael Sowers had a goal and 2 assists. Brennan O'Neill, a goal and 3 assists. Eric Fennell, 2 goals and an assist. Sam LeClaire, a goal and an assist. I mean, I guess if there's a bright spot, everyone on the offense scored at least a point, but it's not nearly enough. I mean, and you got nothing out of any of your defense or transition players as far as offense production.
Eh? That's frightening that their transition is at 0.
Yeah.
0 point.
That was what was going to carry them.
And Ron John and Dylan Hutchison were in the lineup for that first game.
Yep.
So,
well, at least Ron John got 5 loose balls in there, but nothing else, really. Nothing to speak about.
Yeah, and I mean, in the loss,
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Damoud, 41 saves, only 10 goals allowed. But
I don't blame him for any of this, just like I didn't blame Zach Higgins when he was there, when he's facing 65 shots a night and letting in 10 or 12 goals. I really don't blame him either. When you're not scoring and not shooting, that's frightening. That's Gretzky's thing, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Yeah. Well, Philadelphia are experts in this now. They just don't take shots.
And the shots that they're taking, again, going back to Joe Resetarits, they must not be quality chances if you're not scoring. They're just the shot selection.
I'm bringing up the Blaze Reardon thing because I don't think he knows what his role is. I don't think they know what his role is. He had 1 shot on net. 1.
Yeah.
That's taking up a roster spot for no reason. If you're an offensive guy and you're not shooting, what exactly are you doing? If you're setting picks, that's an expensive thing to set picks. And for who?
Yeah.
Who are you setting picks for? Not everything can possibly go in through Brendan O'Neill. He only had 7 shots on net. Where's the other 56 minutes of the game? Yeah. Yeah, well, one time. I'm telling you that the Wings, they really need to define roles for these guys. And they showed up Saturday night. Well, how many games does that make now? 1?
Yeah.
Because week in and week out, I seem to be saying that I don't know what his role is. I don't think he knows what his role is. I'm convinced that the coaching doesn't know what his role is and what to do with him. He certainly isn't the highly touted guy that wore the C a few years back.
You think that has anything to do with it?
I don't know. Should it?
The fact that the C came off is.
Well, he was hurt for a good chunk of a lot of it. So the C came off anyways because he wasn't on the floor. And if you're that, I don't know if your game is that. If your game is that bent on having a letter on your jersey, maybe bowling is what you need to do.
That's what I was going to say. Like if you're a pro, you should be using that as motivation to get that C back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't think it should matter. If you're a leader, you're a leader, whether you have a letter or not. and lead.
I'm just throwing it out there. Is there a possibility that it created some sort of mental block?
No, I think
Good.
I'm with
Because
Gary.
I,
I don't know I don't know your guys' experience with your teams, whether you've had something like this happen. Okay, it happened in New England. Sean Evans was stripped of the captaincy,
Mhm.
and I think he pretty much promptly requested a trade after that, and that's when he got sent to Buffalo for Callum Crawford. But it all happened pretty fast, and
But usually with Shawn Evans,
the reason for removing the
Yeah, we're
captaincy
talking about
never
Shawn
came out or
Evans.
anything like that.
Shawn Evans, there's usually a lot of more reasons than just on the floor stuff. So
Yeah.
just take a look at Peterborough. Just take a look at any NLL teams.
I understand, but I'm just saying, a move like that has the potential to be polarizing, to the player, to the team.
All right. Well, on the other side of it, Georgia's rolling. Georgia is looking really good. And you have sparked the interest of Lyle Thompson. Now, a goal and 3 assists aren't Thompson-esque numbers per se, but they're better than they've been, and it looks like he's been engaged the entire game now, which is something that we hadn't seen in the first part of the year when they're really struggling and losing with, Dobson still putting up under 7 as goals against. But they're starting to get, scoring from, again, Caleb Benedict. Man, I don't know how many times I've said that. When he gets his feet under him, he looks great, doesn't he? 2 goals, 2 assists in this game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nolan Byrne, 3 goals and an assist. And he's feeling his way through this now. Remember, this team has got, 8 rookies on there? So they're doing advanced, going ahead of the curve. And if they keep this nucleus together, this team could be pretty scary for a number of years. We're back to the mid 2010s.
The veterans are still producing too. Brian Cole, a goal and 2 assists. Shane Jackson, 2 and 2. Mike Triolo had a goal. Jordan McIntosh, a goal and 2 assists. So they're getting production everywhere. And just one more thing I want to add with Philly's offensive woes. Took a little look at the league statistics. Turnovers. I just scrolled through the league leaders in turnovers. I actually did not get to a Wings player, and it's Brennan O'Neill. The first Wings player came up 15th in the league. And that's actually refreshing news because 2 years ago, we were looking at Joe Resiteritz and Mitch Jones, both in the top 5 in the league in turnovers.
Right.
So it seems like they're taking care of the ball.
They're just not shooting it.
Again, I guess puts us back at square one. What's
they're not shooting or they're not taking quality shots.
Yeah.
And if they're holding on to it,
so
they're getting deep into shot clocks and then they're rushing. So
yeah.
It's about getting back to basics, really. Anyways, let's move on. Saskatchewan and Buffalo over in Banditland. Buffalo's been having trouble, and Saskatchewan has been rolling. And the funny thing is that Dietrich before the game had stated, if we lose both games this weekend, I can't be a buyer. Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess if there's something on the bulletin board for the team to wake them up, other than sheer pride, that would be it.
Yeah, in this game, they definitely looked motivated. And again, Saskatchewan got off to another slow start, going down 3-0 right off away. And unfortunately, with Buffalo, that's a team you don't want to get down early on. And I mean, to Saskatchewan's credit, I mean, they had a great fourth quarter to get themselves to tie the game. But I mean, even even just looking at the way Saskatchewan played this game, they just didn't seem quite that team that could take over like they normally did. Just take anything away is the fact that they got that game to overtime. I think was just look at it and say, okay, this is not their best game yet. They still at least got it to overtime. Might say something about this team, but yeah, I mean, and you look
a really, really special fourth for them to do it because they were flailing away. They didn't look good at all in those first three. The shot quality, the shot selections didn't look Saskatchewan-esque. Outside shooting, really no interest in going inside. And then all of a sudden, the fourth quarter comes. Ryan Keenan, captain, puts the team on his back, scores a couple of big goals. Robert Church, veteran, leader, puts one in when it's most needed, and you're going to overtime. You see what I did there, Mike?
Yeah, and 2 goals. And I mean, 2 goals. Those 2 goals to tie it were with the extra attacker on the floor with no goaltender. So I mean, that was desperation mode there. And I mean, the fact you didn't get a goal in overtime till well about 6 minutes into overtime, I think just kind of tells you a little bit about how this game went. I mean, it was kind of back and forth at that point, but
well, here's the thing also, right, with the Bandits, that was the first goal for Josh Byrne. He had 7 assists, but that was the first goal. Dean Smith didn't have any goals in that game. It was the other players. Ian maybe went down with an injury. I wonder what it would be like if he didn't get that injury where Byrne fell on his ankle. He had 4 goals at that point. And he didn't play last night, which, again, I'll get to that one when we talk about the Toronto Buffalo game. But, wow, he was just on fire and doing everything that he had been doing for the last couple of years that I really haven't seen him do this year.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the motivation.
As far as even going to say, even Toka Nadikok has been having a hell of a year. And even this game, with 2 goals and 2 assists, he's just been a bulldozer out there and getting to the net.
He actually had more, but he got called back, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like they're getting it when they need it. So here we go. But again, the Bandits, when they have to come through. But Mike, you made mention of this, and I noticed it also. Is we're seeing a lot more of the empty seats over there in Bandit Land. Not a winning year.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's a bit concerning, but I mean, I would ask where those people are. You're 4-6. You're not 2-10 like Oshawa.
Right.
So it's not a foregone conclusion that you're not making the playoffs. I mean, yes, you still do have probably the most difficult schedule going the rest of the way. You have to play Vancouver again, but you're home for that. You have to play Saskatchewan. That's away. And Saskatchewan's still undefeated at home, only team in the league.
Right.
You still have a game against Colorado, which that Colorado game, is that away? Is that home? I can't remember. I believe it's away. But, then you still have San Diego as well. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an easy
and they have
road,
Rochester at home, so.
Which is another interesting one, too. We'll get to that game as well. But another head scratcher in there. But, yeah, it's just, Buffalo seems to want to pull, they put it all together when they have to, which is why they have 3 championships under their belt. Winners know how to win when they have to. And we all know that the goal is just to get in the playoffs. Once you get in there, anything is possible.
Yeah. No, it's funny because Mike, you're telling us, what the playoffs would look like right now, and it would be number 1 Saskatchewan against number 8 Buffalo. And that, as a fan for Saskatchewan, that'd scare the hell out of me. Because a motivated enough Buffalo team could, and a one and done, could take you out easy enough.
We watched it how many years now?
Yeah.
How many years have we watched this?
The last 2 years. The last 2 years. Last year, there was that 5-4 game against San Diego that would have gone to overtime if San Diego had defended at the end of the half from that dunk behind the net from Kyle Buchanan.
Yep.
That ball doesn't go in, and Zach Courier, everything else stays the same, but that ball doesn't go in. Zach Courier scores with whatever 0.1 second left to force overtime.
Right.
And San Diego would have had all the momentum because, they had scored, the last 3 goals in that game until overtime. And then the year before, they went to overtime against Georgia. When Georgia had Andrew Q, who, how many Andrew Q overtime winners have we seen in the last 3 years?
Yeah.
And I'm still at the thing, if Seth Oaks was in that lineup, we would have had a whole different end result.
For that game, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
100%, yep.
So, it's the way it bounces, though, right? You take a look at the Rochester dynasty, and nobody expected them to beat Toronto the one year, and they brought 300 fans up in buses, made it a home game, and they took Toronto to the woodshed. And they rolled right on through. 8-8 was their record at that time. Rolled right on through to a championship and continued to do it. And just got stronger and more accustomed. They won that only mini game that we had for a final. Well, not a joke. But even the mini game was 2-2 going down the stretch. 3-2, and Matt Vince being Matt Vince and not letting anything past him the rest of the mini game. And Rochester wins that championship. So it's possible. Everything happens. So, but hey, it is what it is. Let's move on. We had 2 more games on the Friday. Mike, San Diego and Colorado. We had quite the event there.
Yeah, definitely a tough one for the Seals, who came into the game undefeated on the road, the only undefeated team on the road. But getting out to a 6-1 lead after the first quarter. They would have another 5-goal lead later in the game at 9-4. But thanks to some heroics from Owen Ron, Andrew Q, and most notably Dylan Hess scoring his first 2 career NLL goals, including the insurance goal at the end. Colorado claws their way back. They outscore the Seals 8-3 in the second half after trailing 9-6 to win 14-12. So San Diego's first road loss of the year. Big scorers for the Mammoth were, like I said, Owen Ron, 2 goals, 2 assists. Jack Hanna had a hat trick and 3 assists. Andrew Q had 4 goals and 2 assists. Dylan Hess, 2 goals and an assist. But maybe the biggest hero for the Mammoth, Nathan Whittam, comes in relief of Dylan Ward after Dylan Ward gave up 8 of the first 9 goals, and proceeds to stop 25 of 29 shots in about 36 minutes of play to get the victory. So for San Diego, again, big start, and kind of like a little bit like the Saskatchewan game. Got out to a big lead, and what's going on in the second half with them?
Is this the new norm? Because we're talking about it again with San Diego today, with that game again, out with a lead, and then all of a sudden, it's not there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that one more, but to me, that one's even worse against Vancouver because, one, it's a team that you've historically owned, more or less.
Yeah.
in a lifetime series. And 2, Vancouver is the worst fourth quarter team in the NLL. I think where are we? Week 14, and I think they've scored something like 20 goals in the fourth quarter
Right.
of games.
Yeah.
Through 14 weeks, and now 12 games.
Hmm.
But top performers for the Seals against the Mammoth: Westberg, 2 goals, 5 assists. Trey LeClaire, 2 and 3. Dylan Watson had a hat trick. Zach Courier had 2 goals, 2 assists. Connor Robinson, 2 goals, 3 assists against his former team. Ben McIntosh, a goal and 3 assists. But you have to wonder now with the Seals. Now, I mean, we'll get to the second loss a little later, but they dropped 2 in a row this weekend, and now they're sitting at 500.
Absolutely.
Yep.
When it seemed like they were on the rise.
It really is stranger and stranger as we go along here. And Colorado, in my eyes, hasn't looked good in the last 2 weeks. Ever since they took Toronto to the woodshed at home, ever since really Tim Edwards got rocked, they've looked a little gun shy. And it's odd because everything was rolling for them for weeks. And now, yeah, it was a win, but by no means do I put this as a pretty win. And one that instills confidence in me if I was in the coaching staff. Because there were a lot of things that they could have done better. And they have done better in weeks previous. Just mental errors. So they came away with a win, though. That's all that matters. But where does it show up the most? The playoffs. Especially week 1 and done, right? You can kind of mask it a bit in the 2 out of 3s. But 1 and done, you have a bad start. And, it was a great year. So,
I mean, just looking at their schedule, it is somewhat favorable. They're hosting Ottawa next week. They have to play at Buffalo. They have 2 against Calgary. They're home against Vegas, and then the big one, I'd say the bigger than the Buffalo game, week 20 at Saskatchewan. That could potentially be for number 1 seed.
That could be for first place. Yeah. Right.
And I think that's their only meeting of the season too. So it's not it's not something that they can have a split. So
yeah. Well, you don't want to go down to goals, right?
No.
No.
Well, the one meeting, you're not going to have that, right? Anyways, Vancouver and Vegas get together in Vegas. And Vegas had made news during the week of signing both Tyson Gibson and Kevin Crowley. Boy, won't that be something once Chase Fraser comes back? And that'll be something. But in this game, Vancouver got out to a house of Caden Balint. Just looking amazing. He's back to the form that we have been accustomed to seeing him play. And he led the Warriors in the first half with 3 goals and 3 assists. And they just showed a balanced attack. 6 different scorers to take an 8-5 lead to the dressing room. Vegas showed a lot of moxie throughout. And, with 5 different players to score to keep them close. And it was 8-5 at the half. The Warriors came out flying in the second half. In the third quarter, they scored 4 unanswered goals and just took total control. And they dictated the pace. They dictated the shots. They dictated where Vegas was going to be, how they were going to get there. They were on top of it. And then something I really didn't understand. They took their foot completely off the gas in the fourth. And Vegas finally mounted an attack. Down 13-6, the Desert Dogs, who were led by Adam Poitras with 2 goals, Jonathan Donville and Kyle Killen all scored in the space of 7 minutes and 14 seconds to bring them within 3 goals. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and I will get back to this point again in the Toronto game. Reed Bowering stops the run, right? But with 8 seconds left, he scores when he could have just killed clock. And that got the ire of Las Vegas up. And as it should. There's no reason for it to go. And that's just, insult to injury. That shows me that Vegas still has some life and pride. That you're not going to let something like that slide. Remember that particular little statement when we get a little further on in here. But for Vancouver, the big scorer, of course, Keegan Ball. Just incredible, eh? Love his game because he'll do anything. 4 goals, 5 assists on the night. Curtis Dixon, 2 goals, 2 assists. Jesse King with another big game at 2 goals, 4 assists. But getting goals from Matt Beers, Adam Charlin-Beatties, Marcus Claridge with a goal and 3 assists. Reed Bowering, of course, with the empty netter. Ryan Sheridan with a goal. You had things going on everywhere. For Vegas, Jonathan Donville was looking good in that first half. Second half, he kind of disappeared. 2 goals and 4 assists on the night. Tony Malcolm with a beautiful goal. Brandon Goodwin had a goal as well. Adam Poitras. Now, I know he had a couple in that fourth quarter, but he had a strong game. Doing all the things off ball as well. But every time he's on the floor, he puts the fear of God into his opponents. Because nobody knows exactly what's coming. And he is just that kind of player. Kevin Crowley had an assist, but he actually didn't look like he was out of place. He didn't look like he'd missed a year's worth of play or more. Tyson Gibson, he a little bit more trying to get accustomed to what was going on. But again, I don't think he looked out of place there. He didn't do anything that was glaring and cost them. Kyle Killen, another big game. 2 goals, both really, really just absolute lasers. One was from just inside the restraining line. And it, I'm pretty sure it took care of some of the netting in the back because it was on fire. But both of his goals were just absolute howitzers. Now, here's the interesting thing. They pull Landon Kells. They put Alex Bouquet in. And I never thought I'd be saying this. That's what steadied the ship for Las Vegas. Bouquet looked pretty good in that. And he looks like he fits right in. Interesting. I had figured that you're not going to win anything with him, but you're not going to lose anything with him in there either.
No. Bouquet's kind of an interesting one, and I've seen it right in Saskatchewan. I don't think he's a very good goaltender. I just don't think he's a full-time starter. Yeah. You won't get a full 18 games out of him.
Yeah, if you want to use him sparingly or in relief, I think he's really he's one of the best in the league that way.
100%. Yeah.
He keeps himself ready. He is mentally attuned. When he comes in, he's already in the zone. It's not 3 shots in and 2 goals right away, and he's kind of feeling it. He is the one thing is his mental prowess is always fine-tuned in there. And, a starter I don't think is him. But I think he's one of the steadiest relievers you got. And obviously Sean Williams saw that was why he took him over the other goalies in camp. And he just proved it in this game. Mitch Jones, Mike. No goals, 2 assists. If you're going to be facilitator, you need to have no goals, 6 assists.
Yeah, definitely. And 13 shots on goal.
I'm curious now that you have Crowley in there who does the same thing as Jones. Does Jones have to try and figure out something else in there? Or do they have to try and teach an old dog new tricks and have Crowley do something different?
I don't know. That's tough call. How to kind of,
I'm still on the belief that Chris Kluche is the engine to that offense. If he's rolling, that offense is scoring. He had a goal and 2 assists in this game. That offense was sputtering for the better part of 3 quarters. It had moments of brilliance and had moments where they were just trying to figure it out. And it was consistent. There was never any momentum until they got the 4-goal run in the fourth. But, wow. I just look at that and going, that's duplication. It's all fine and good to have that veteran leadership because I'm always harping about that. But, there has to be roles, right? And it's not just Philadelphia I harp on about Reardon finding a role. About Recetera, it's about redefining his role. But here, these guys need to have roles. And you can't just have them aimlessly running around the floor because I can watch, Junior C for that.
And Mitch Jones was really one of your prized signings in the offseason, and to only have 2 assists. I mean, I think you're expecting a bit more out of him than that.
I agree. And then Jonathan Donville, I need 4 quarters out of him. He's your highly touted guy, and he's had a good season. But it can't be that, you're on for a quarter, you're not around for another one. When everything was going down in the fourth, I think that could have been an even closer game if he was as much on fire as he was in the first half. So it is what it is. But this is a Vancouver victory, 14-10. That seems to be a general number, A 14 is a win this week, as we're about to find out. We move into Saturday games. And if we didn't have enough fun already, we go into the Ottawa and Oshawa game. And, well, just when you thought that Oshawa had figured it out, you almost hear the kaboom, didn't you? Oshawa comes up and over 2 quarters scores 8 goals in a row. And I'm thinking to myself, they've got this one down pat. That bye week was certainly well worthwhile. Alex Simmons looks great. Ty Kurtz looks great. Will Johansson looks great. Dyson Williams is looking like the leader that he's supposed to be. Everything is rolling. Jameson's looking good in net. The defense is solid. Everybody is doing their part. And then, comes the fourth quarter. And Mike, who's the number 1 fourth quarter team in the league?
That would be the Ottawa Black Bears.
Who was Oshawa playing in this particular game?
Last I checked, the Ottawa Black Bears.
Did they know this? They do now.
Yeah.
They do now. Because, wow. It started out kind of, Riley O'Connor got him back on track at the end of the third quarter with a power play goal. And Sam Firth got them a little bit more into the direction where they're only 4 goals behind, just 40 seconds into the fourth. Alex Simmons, I thought when he scored, was able to curb it and, get them back on track. 5-goal lead, and away you go. Riley O'Connor and Rob Hellier score a couple of minutes apart, and it's 11-8. And now it's like, oh my gosh, is this actually happening? Jake Stevens actually comes in with a beautiful, just an absolute needed goal to change momentum and a great individual effort. But Taggart Clark on the power play. And it is 13-9 with 4 minutes and 34 seconds to go. One would say it was in the bag. One would be wrong. This is Oshawa, and they're having that kind of a year. And this is Ottawa, and they're having this kind of a year. Firth, Hellier, O'Connor, Kiernan in the span of a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Firth, Hellier, O'Connor, Kiernan. Seems like a bunch of scorers to me, right? And we're not.
And playing so you don't say teeth
the last
in there.
2 minutes, so 4 reviews.
Yeah, 4 reviews.
Right. And the funny thing is, there's assists. and you're seeing all goal scorers. The funny thing is, assist, but there's no Teat in there.
Oh, Teat had one assist in there, and that was it. It was Kiernan. He was the catalyst, a goal and 2 assists of those last 4 goals. Riley O'Connor, who more or less had the team on his back earlier in the game when they weren't doing much, he had a goal and an assist in those last 4. Now, just to add insult to injury, we get about just under 2 minutes into overtime, and Riley O'Connor gets the winning goal from Jeff Teat. There you go. Mission complete. I don't want to be in the Oshawa dressing room when this one comes off the floor. I just don't want to, because that is a collapse, a calamity of a collapse on a game that you already had the 2 points in the standings given to you. It just, it boggles my mind, because this team is so much better than what we just saw in that fourth quarter, or what we saw in the first 3 quarters, especially in quarter 2 and 3, is what this Oshawa team can be. But for some reason, they have yet, I think they put together once a full 60 minutes. They beat the doors off of Halifax to get even for the time they got their doors beaten off of in Halifax. And it took Ty Kurtz 7 goals to do that. Happened to be his birthday too. But hey, this game is troubling in my eyes because you had it and everybody was on the same page, and you could see the magic when they were on the same page, and you could see them all relaxing and playing like they can play. And then the fourth happens. And since Ottawa is adept at this one, I don't think that they were in panic mode at 10-5 or 10-6, even 10-4. Because they're going to go 1 goal at a time. This is the Dan McRae coaching. This is the, keeping everybody steady and doing their job one at a time. It's not football. You can't kick a 3-point field goal. And away they went. And the guys who were supposed to score, Firth, O'Connor, Hellier, you did your job. You stopped Jeff Teat. He had hardly anything on the night.
That's kind of why I wanted to make that point about Teat, is because, we say, relying on Teat. They didn't need to rely on Teat for that comeback. That's a good sign for Ottawa.
Well, yeah, now notice to league. Ottawa can win when Teat doesn't have a 6-point or 10-point night. How does that make you feel, league, if Ottawa's in the playoffs? There's your dark horse.
Wow. Especially, I'll use the argument that Shawn was saying, where I said, hey, if the playoffs start now, you're looking at Buffalo being the 8 seed, having to play Saskatchewan, and Saskatchewan maybe not wanting to have to face them. What if Ottawa is a lower seed? If you're Colorado, Georgia, Vancouver, you might not want to be facing Ottawa either.
No. You damn well have to put in a full 60 with Ottawa, especially that fourth quarter.
Right. But I'm telling you,
especially
Ottawa,
if you're Vancouver. Can you imagine Vancouver having to play Ottawa?
Doug Jamieson made 50 saves on the night. He looked good, but the rest of the thing, God, that's 65 shots. That's 64 shots. That's a lot, man.
Internet issue.
Yeah, you're back with us.
That
Mike?
Would definitely not be something that any team would want to have to face. Right. So
this is a very, very strange game, because on both sides, because again, you're seeing Oshawa as good as they can play, and you're seeing Oshawa as bad as they can play, all in the same game. And that's, I don't know. I know Clarkey was at the end of his rope in the last press conference, but
he's got to be stripping paint off in that locker room.
I wouldn't want to be in that dressing room. Man. Anyways, Ottawa wins this one 14-13 in overtime. And away we go. Brings us over to Saskatchewan into Rochester. Shawn, talk to me.
Yeah, I mean,
This I didn't have on the card.
don't want to make excuses for Saskatchewan, but you're going on a short week. You play overtime in Buffalo, so you're already tired. And you go back and play overtime again in Rochester. That's a lot of lacrosse. Great game, though. Back and forth battle. You know, Saskatchewan went out to 3-0 lead. Rochester come back to a 3-goal run. Saskatchewan goes a 2-goal run. Rochester comes to a 2-goal run. To be fair, they Saskatchewan sat Chiliano and started Thomas Kizek, and didn't look too bad. Took him a little bit of time to settle down. Maybe something to concern with Rochester is Saskatchewan got 3 shorthanded goals, and they're almost carbon copy. Where the first defender blocked the shot, so just it was a loose ball that got in behind the offense, and you're off to the races in transition coast to coast. So that may be a little bit of a concern for Rochester, but for Saskatchewan, again, too, I mean, they did lead throughout this game. It wasn't until overtime that Rochester did win it on a misplay really at center field from Saskatchewan. And how, Ryan Smith could be that open.
Yeah.
Is unbelievable, really.
My concern is this in Rochester's side is they let Hartley hang out to dry. They really didn't play defense in front of him. Hutchcraft comes in, and the defense is playing much better. I find it a little troubling.
And Hartley made some unbelievable saves, too.
He's had some interesting times, but that just seems odd.
And when Hartley went back in, I mean, he made some unbelievable saves. That game could have gotten away on Rochester quite easily if it wasn't for Hartley.
It was on his way. His way. And I just, I haven't put my finger on the Rochester team now. I don't have any really concerns with Saskatchewan. It's 2 overtime goals. Oh, well, that happens. You're not going to go perfect. It happened to be in the same weekend, but
like I said, I don't want to make excuses. But they had a rough schedule in that 3-game span.
Yeah, 3 games and 7 nights.
The fact that they put those 2 games overtime is probably a miracle in itself. So,
well, yeah, and again, I look at Rochester, and we were looking at this team at the beginning of the year, and they were rolling. I had McConvey on the show on Thursday, and they were all ready to raring to go, and bang. You're down 3-0 before you even get into your seats. But you come back, and then you're back down again. You're never able to make that jump that you can just keep rolling with momentum like they were doing early and on in the season. That I haven't seen in weeks from before the Vancouver games. It goes back to the Toronto game, really, where they had it and then blew it. And then just they weren't able to make adjustments to adjustments. And Toronto is funny because Toronto's not notorious for making a lot of adjustments. Our adjustments are we're going to do what we did.
Yeah. I'm just curious in this game, too, is it maybe a bit of a concern, too, that 8 of your 13 goals came from Zed Williams and Ryan Smith. Majority of your scoring really just came from 2 guys.
Well, as a Nighthawk fan, I would say I'm very happy to see Zed Williams with that many because he hasn't had that this year. A couple of goals here and a couple of goals there, but he hasn't had any of those dominating performances yet. And if he's on now, that's a definite 5 goals is a definite plus towards what they're trying to achieve. But Connor Fields, on the other hand, who is your leader by a long shot, even though Coates wears a C, with only 2 goals and 4 assists. This is a game where he needs to strap that team on his back. You got Lansbury with 8 assists, who's doing all the facilitating. But McConvey, we talked about him. He had 14 shots on net and 1 goal.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is I'm coming down and they won. Right.
And
I'm just
again, like I said, Saskatchewan had their backup goaltender in for this one too, right? So,
well, yeah, I would have thought it would have been the other way around. I would have had, I would have had Skiggs in this one, and I would have had Kostiuk in the other one. But that was me. What do I know? They dust themselves off and get ready for next week. That's all. Yeah. I don't think there's any panic in Saskatchewan land right now.
No, by the same extent, you're going into a bye week on 2 losses. That's, it's going to sting.
Yeah, that one hurts when you got to sit and actually eat that.
But you're still atop the league despite the 2 losses. So,
but it got a whole lot closer, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It got a whole lot closer. From bottom to top, it got a whole lot closer just with Bizarro land this week.
Yeah.
And that brings me to the Buffalo-Toronto game. And, this storied rivalry, this heated thing, everybody hates each other. And, well, the game plan would have been you run Buffalo all over the floor after having a really, really busy night the night before and an overtime game. And they looked like they were doing that. And this game had a high tempo right off the start. And you would think that normally there's a lot of fighting and a lot of penalties and a lot of this, and there was not a lot of any of that. What there was a lot of back and forth stuff going on in the first half. Owen Hiltz opens the game on the power play with an absolutely beautiful far side shot that just eludes Matt Vince's stick. And it was 1-0. Now, we talked about Nanticoke having a good year and being a bulldozer. Well, he is another big game. And this goal he scored while falling down. Now, we've seen some highlight reel goals from him, but he was falling down and he still scored off a Dane Smith pass. Mitch DeSnew comes back to haunt his former foes with a transition goal. Now, we're going to hear a lot about this because transition ran wild in the fourth quarter as well. Enter Mark Matthews, who probably had the best game that he had as a Toronto Rock. He tied the game up with an absolute howitzer from about 20 feet out that just plain beat Matt Vince's arm to that spot. He followed that up with a quick stick where I was right there where that goal went in, and I had to check it on my phone and it went in and out. It was so quick that it went boom. And Toronto had to lead. Ryan Benesh, not to be outdone about 20 seconds later, ties the game up, and we are 3-3 heading into the second, and this is a pretty good game. It's been clean, it's been fast, and it's been full of excitement. And both sides behaving nicely. Chris Boucher, about halfway through the quarter, of an up and down, back and forth track meet of a quarter, finally beats Matt Vince off a Challen Rogers pass and another athletic goal from Boucher. Enter Dane Smith, who gets a natural hat trick. If you're not going to guard the man, just put the things up. Let's not even bother going through the motions. He had 3 goals from the same spot, high to low, they caught in short side. Let's just sit there and let that soak in for a sec. The number one guy on Buffalo, you're leaving around it. Gotcha. And all of a sudden, it is broken open. It is 6-4 Buffalo heading closer to the half. Now, Toronto has a man down. They get a breakaway. I believe it was Sam English on the breakaway. He gets pulled down. Toronto's awarded a penalty shot. They give it to Challen Rogers, and he deked Matt Vince out of his jockstrap and scored. It was pretty. And it was vintage Challen Rogers taking a penalty shot. And it was 6-5 at the half. Still a very entertaining game. Still very close. Still a lot of excitement in there and a lot of anticipation and hope for the second half. A minute one into the second half, Chris Boucher scores, but we get about a 4.5 minute delay of we're going to go and see if he was in the crease, not in the crease, near the crease, in the parking lot, or down the street. And finally, after everything is cooled down and all the momentum's gone, we start playing again. I really, really hope that the league puts a time limit on challenges. If you can't figure it out in 2 minutes, it's what's called on the field. The end. Because I don't care what angle you got. If you haven't seen it in those 2 minutes, you're not going to see it. Maybe we turn the screen upside down. Maybe if we go backwards. Maybe if we're going in the concession stands, we'll see it better. I really can't understand why it takes so long to do it. Anyways, the goal counts at 6-6. Kyle Buchanan scores from in close, 7-6. Mark Matthews again with another fantastic shot. And this doesn't matter what he does or where he does it from, it's going in for him. In comes Buffalo. End of the third quarter. Toronto is flailing away. They're getting away from what was making them so successful in this game. Tight checking, running Buffalo around, and they're getting away from it. And they're starting to watch. And this is dangerous with this team, especially when they start getting their confidence back from the night before over into this one. And you get Ryan Benes scoring on the power play. You get Josh Byrne, adding a goal, and typical Josh Byrne form. You go into the fourth quarter, Byrne scores again. Mark Matthews comes up again and brings the Rock within 2. It's 10-8. Enter Matt Spanger, who gets sent down the floor by a Dylan Robinson pass. He comes in all alone and just a beautiful finish. Next transition goal. Josh Byrne scores. Now Nick Weiss comes, and he's sent in on a Mitch DeSnoop feed. And he scores. And it's 13-8, and this is out of hand now. Owen Hill scores on the power play with 2 minutes left. Makes it a 4-goal game. This, for all intents and purposes, is over. Nick Weiss comes in with 15 seconds left and scores into an empty net. Now, remember what I talked about in Vancouver and Vegas. This damn near started a riot. Now, this is a real heated rivalry. These teams hate each other. And you know what Toronto did? Nothing. They just went to the face-off dot and went to take the last 15 seconds. Now I question the spirit on the team. I don't generally. But things like that get in my craw. That you don't have something to say about that. Unnecessary. Just, icing on the cake, yeah? Stuff like that shows me, there's not a lot of gumption there. The other thing that I saw at the end of the night, because there were a lot of Bandits fans, the Bandits did the salute on the center floor to their fans. The Rock stayed there and very comfortably in their own end, very quietly, and waited for the Bandits to get off the field before they did their little half circle around the mid-floor, and then off they went. If you did that and I have that hate on for you, I'm basically coming at you with a cross-check to get off my floor. Go salute them in the parking lot. Again, I'm asking, where's the life? This isn't the Rock of old and Buffalo of old, that kind of idea. Because, if this was 99, this was 2005, this was 2010, there would have been, fights all over the place. So maybe I'm old school. Maybe I'm just reading more into it than there is. But those were a couple of things that stuck out in my mind that were, and I could see it in the play where things went south. Now, I did see the dumbest play, I think, was Gash and Nanakoke. And Gash, shoves Nanakoke, and Nanakoke plays professional wrestler and hits the dirt like he was shot. And thank goodness the referee saw that, and they both took a penalty. One for dead ball foul, one for embellishment. And then we didn't have any more of that. We need more of that. But taking a look at the stats, both Buffalo and Toronto went 2 for 3 on the power play. That means altogether there were 6 penalties in this game. Very clean game. Very un-Buffalo Toronto game. Toronto outshot Buffalo 55-44. Matt Vince was vintage Matt Vince. If you thought he was strong the night before against Saskatchewan, Matt Vince looked good. So much so that the Rock started taking the outside stuff at the end of the game because they weren't doing that in the beginning. They got away entirely from what they were doing in the first half, in the second half. And if they're going to win, they're going to need to play 60 minutes. Now, do I think that Toronto can win a championship this year? No. Let's not fool ourselves. They are well on their way with a good nucleus and a young team. But there's just that was missing for me. That Buffalo-Toronto rivalry just was not there for me. But that's me. Buffalo wins the face-off battle 15-12. Which shows me that Rowlett had a good night there and is an asset. The other thing that stood out to me was the loose ball battle. And it was 70-69 in favor of Toronto. So, again, this was a really even game if you look at the stats. Not if you look at the score. Dane Smith was the first star of this game. And what did he do? Well, 3 goals and 5 assists, of course. Matt Vince was the second star, though I would have thought maybe Josh Byrne with 3 goals and 4 assists. Mark Matthews was the third star, and of course, for the Rock, Mark Matthews had 4 goals, 3 assists. One of the strongest games he's had as a Rock. But again, I look up and down the Rock lineup. CJ Kirst had 2 assists in this game. Josh Tolwick had 3 assists. There's a good chunk of the scoring that you get game in and game out. Owen Hiltz had a pair of goals and a pair of assists to go with it. Isaiah Moran-Weeks, every time he went up against a band, it looked to me like David and Goliath because he's a small guy. But, he has a lot of moxie. I like his game. And as long as he does that, I think there's a place for him in the NLL. Gash. Nothing. 2 penalty minutes on that, what I just explained. 2 loose balls. I don't know. Robert Hudson had a pretty decent game for Toronto, but really nothing on the stat sheet. Chandler Rogers had the 1 penalty shot goal and a couple of assists. There's still a ways to go for this Toronto team. Holochuk, he made some spectacular saves. But he only made 30 saves. Only faced 43 shots. Matt Vince made 46 saves on the night. Josh Tolwick had 12 shots on net, no goals. Josh Byrne, on the other hand, had 12 shots on net. Let's say 4 goals. 3 goals. Something like that. That's the difference. 3 goals. 3 goals, 4 assists. But the big thing, I think, was Dane Smith. For a while there, he was not guarded. And how can you just bang, 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 natural hat trick? Well, Toronto will pick themselves up and dust themselves off and fly out to Vancouver this week. And they're going to face the Warriors on Friday night. It doesn't get easier for them either. Now, again, do I expect big things out of the Rock this year? No. Do I expect growing pains? Yeah. And I think this was just one of those bumps in the road. But, the timing of it was terrible. You have all this emotion and all this. This is the year we're going to beat the Bandits, man. They've been making us look stupid for the last 3 years. And never mind. Driving home. Quiet drive. Through the snow. From Hamilton. For an hour. Oh, well. Buffalo takes both games this weekend and all of a sudden puts themselves in the playoff picture. And we've said it before. All they have to do is get in, then they get hot. And Matt Vince, in a one and done scenario, I put him against anybody in the league.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think people in Buffalo should be panicking about their team not being first. That doesn't matter. You can be eighth and still win a cup. You know, as much as I shake my head at it from some of the games I've seen them put together this year, you get hot at the right time, and what happens? Here we are. So let's see. Let's see how they move from this big weekend. Do they have a letdown or do they ramp momentum? That's going to be the interesting thing for Buffalo, I think, this week coming up. All right, let's move on. We have Philadelphia into Georgia for the back end of the home and home. Mike?
Yeah, and I wish I'd thought about this a little earlier. Georgia's actually had had a little bit of a tough time winning games when they wear their themed jerseys, specifically their Native American themed jerseys. I don't believe. Yeah, I don't believe they have won a game in the last 4 or 5 seasons when they've worn their Native American themed jerseys, which is very odd. So which jerseys did they happen to be wearing at the Hive in game 2 against Philly? Well, they're Native American themed jerseys. So they
that's right, Doug. Defense come alive.
The defense did come alive in the second half, holding this Georgia offense scoreless. Philly wins 9-5, splitting the home and home.
Reardon had a roll.
What's that?
Reardon had a roll.
Reardon did something, yeah.
He had a roll. And Eric Fennell, there was a fighting him. We got to take him off the milk carton.
Yeah, he certainly did. Two goals, 2 assists. Fennell also had 2 goals and 2 assists on the night. You got a hat trick and 2 assists from Dalton Young, who I don't think played in the Friday game. So, but 12 of 18 on the faceoffs for Philly again, and still a bright spot on the power play. 3 out of 4 on the power play for the Wings. Doug was talking about that defense, holding Georgia scoreless in the second half. 53 shots for Georgia. Philly did get outshot again. They only managed 48 of their own.
Damoud was on fire.
Yeah.
48 saves. He was just on fire.
He was. He absolutely was. And how about Philly's penalty kill when we're talking about the defense? Georgia 0 for 4 on the power play in this game.
That's huge. That's huge.
So
because Philadelphia was 3 for 4.
Yeah, and I don't think it's obviously time for Georgia to panic yet either. You're still sitting in 4th place right now. You have arguably the best goaltender in the league right now, for sure.
Yep.
In Dobson. I guess if I have any concern, it's their home record is not great. And you have to wonder, I mean, this was a home game. Obviously there's this apparent curse of the of the Native American jerseys that they seem to have, where for some reason when they don them, they can't seem to win a game. I'll have to check on that. So
That's funny. That's very funny. Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking, Toronto.
Yeah.
I mean that's
I'll put that up
good.
again. That is so true.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's spot on. That's the comment of the night, right there. And again, with Georgia, the one thing that we're talking about in the other game, Nolan Byrne, 3 goals in this game, the one bright spot in offense because everybody else took the night off. Lyle had a goal, but really, Richie Connell, I don't even know him. He had a goal. That's it. But this was the problem with Georgia before, is they had great goaltending and no scoring. And this brought us right back to the beginning of the year, didn't it?
Yeah, it certainly seemed like it. So, and this
it doesn't suit well when your goalie only gives up 8 and you can't get enough to win.
Yeah, I mean, but we're seeing a lot of that this year. I mean, how many games were we seen, especially with the scoring down, and by the way, that scoring margin got a little smaller from last year. We're only 124 goals behind last year's pace now through 81 games instead of 102. Wow. But yeah, I mean, with all this reduced scoring, we're still seeing a lot of games where we're looking at a goaltender's performance and say, oh, well, he only let between 5 and 9 goals in, and somehow they're still losing.
Yep. Interesting. Well, we still have a few more games that we have to catch up on here. And, here's another interesting game. And a game we didn't really know how to pick and prognosticate. Halifax and Calgary. And it was kind of, all right, Halifax it is. But, as a Rock fan, go Halifax. I want that first overall ball. Right? But, I have the Peterson jersey up behind me, and, he had a game of games for Halifax. He just strapped them right to his back, and, away he went. This is the game I think they've been waiting for Peterson to have for a while, because we've talked about it over the last few weeks where he had 1 goal, 2 goals. He had 5 goals in this game, and very meaningful goals. Especially in the third quarter, when this game was tight. It was 8-8 in the third. And between Peterson with a couple of goals, Graham Kostiuk with a transition goal unassisted, as well as Colton Armstrong. Yeah. Brendan Bombery, actually, we had a sighting at him, and what a goal he scored. That was just poetry. And it's 13-8 going into the fourth. And for all intents and purposes, this is done. Halifax put together 1 complete quarter where they shut down Calgary, and they were able to get their offense rolling. Fourth quarter, interestingly enough, is that Calgary rested Aiden Walsh in the fourth and put in Colby Bowman. Don't really understand why, but I guess get him some work. But he was outstanding. He gave up 1 goal on 10 shots to Randy Stotts at that. And that was it. I think he's starting to make a case that maybe we should look more at him. But again, I don't understand why it would take in the fourth when some of the other stuff was going on, right? But
yeah, and I mean, when the game's still within reach, it's a little odd.
It didn't make much sense to me, but maybe Josh Sanderson knew something I didn't know, which is very, very good bet. But he played outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. For Halifax, on top of the 5 goals of Clark Peterson, Cody Jamieson. Now we talked about his 900 loose balls, but he had 5 assists on the day. He was doing a lot of the stuff that made that team so successful in years past. Randy Stotts. He only had 8 shots on net, but he had 3 goals. This could work.
Hey, maybe he got our memo from last week.
Could very well be. The transition game was working for Halifax, which hasn't in the last while. And with Colton Armstrong scoring and Graham Hossick scoring, I think it started putting Calgary a little bit on their edge, and they weren't able to do a lot of the things that they would have normally planned to do. Jason Knox had a goal. So you had a number of scores which you haven't been getting consistently. For Calgary, we've talked about Noah Manning, Tanner Cook also with a pair, Braden Maye, with 2 goals and 3 assists, and still having just an absolute monster year in a rebuild in Calgary. Riley Lowen also having a decent game. Hayden Dixon with a goal and 2 assists. Jacob Dunbar, what's it going to take to ignite him to where he used to be in San Diego? Ottawa, we thought we found the home for him there, and they fizzled quickly. He hasn't really taken to this yet in Calgary in a couple of games. He had no points here. He had 2 shots on net, 3 loose balls. I'm liking Kyle Pepper's game also. I think that he's got a real future in the NLL. He had a goal and an assist in this game. But I think that he has got that, that just the definite, what's needed to stay in the NLL. But, wow. But, yeah, you're right, Doug. Calgary will be fine. It's a process. And they have a number of things to look forward to in the future. So, also, when they get Matthew Gauthier back in the lineup, I think that's going to be a big thing. That's a big piece that's not in there.
Yep.
But, it's just it's painful sometimes to watch the rebuilds because, you expect certain things. And, I give Josh Sanderson all the credit in the world and Troy Cordingley and Phil Sanders for patience. Because you know that your athletic prowess, you want to win. But you also need to instill confidence and instill systems and build for future. And that's what's going on in Calgary right now. They have a lot of great pieces. And as they come up through the ranks, I think that they're going to be great again. But they have to take the time it's going to take. On the Halifax side, though, yes, they got the win. Do we go, that's over? Or are we still sitting there worried? Because you're not going to get 5 goals from Clark Peterson every game.
Yeah, man, I think you're still worried. Obviously, if there's another silver lining for Halifax, it's in the penalty minutes department.
Yeah,
they only committed 6 penalty minutes in this game.
Right.
So that's a plus.
Yeah, and they held them scoreless also on the power play. Calgary went 0 for 3.
Yeah.
It's a good question, Doug. It's a good question because, you're going to get compensatory picks if they're signing somewhere else, right?
Will you get them for RFAs, though? You'll get them for UFAs.
I'm pretty sure.
Not for RFAs. It's UFAs.
Not for RFAs?
I think it's UFAs only.
UFAs,
And it's trade the bunch. Either make an offer or trade the bunch.
Yeah, I mean, I think the
If you
best
got
answer.
somebody
The best answer to that question is it depends on your cap situation.
Right.
If your RFAs are all guys who,
commanding top dollar.
relatively speaking, are due for bigger paydays,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to have to, you're going to be put into a situation where you're going to have to pick and
Yeah.
choose.
It's always tough to
I
see RFAs move, right? Just because of the situation, how that all
honestly,
works,
I would
right?
say that this trade deadline is going to be one of the most interesting ones for a tactical thing that we've seen in years. Because there's a number of teams that are on the fence of buying and selling. There's a number of RFAs out there that they're just not sure of. And we're coming down to the wire here. We're in March now. We're only a week and a half away.
I would say RFAs and UFAs, because if there's that many.
Well, UFAs is a rental
Yeah.
player, right?
We saw the rental player thing, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we saw it last year with Nick Rose. More than
Toronto
anything.
played it to a T, right? Nick Rose, both Corbeil, Desnu. Though they didn't take those two back, there was still an option. But wow, the RFA one this year, we didn't see so much last year. This year might play into
I have a feeling
we'll see bigger role
this year.
Yeah.
So
interesting. All righty, that brings us over to today's game, of all things. Game number 10 of the week. Are you tired yet? Vancouver and San Diego, Mike.
Yeah, and
another one of these leads that didn't last.
Yeah, again. So I mean, it's we're talking about big losers this week. I would have to say you'd have to probably put San Diego at the top of that list, because both of their games were winnable games, and it's yeah. Well, I mean, to me, this is going to be a little extra demoralizing for the Seals, because of the fact that you blew not one but two 5-goal leads against Colorado. You get out to a 2-0 lead after the first quarter, and quickly at that, you get goals from Connor Robinson and Pat Cavanaugh within the first 3 minutes of the game to go up 2-0. You kind of go blow for blow in the second quarter, come out with a 4-2 lead. You get a goal from one of your top prospects in Marquez White, his first NLL game and his first career goal. San Diego native. But
right.
But
that's a good sign.
Vancouver kind of takes control in the fourth quarter. They you get a goal from Adam Charlambides with a little over 3 minutes left in the third quarter to cut the deficit to 1. And Vancouver, who we just got finished saying is the worst fourth quarter team in the league in terms of goals scored, comes out, trailing by 1 and outscores San Diego 4-1 in the final frame.
That's an interesting question from Doug. It's an interesting question, because I don't think that he's not a fourth quarter goalie, because I've seen him pull off some amazing stunts in the fourth. But I just think this was not a good weekend for him in the fourth. But it also doesn't help when you give up a 5-goal run that started in the third and finished midway through the fourth. I blame defense for that and breakdowns.
Yeah, and none of those goals were on special teams either. So, you weren't giving up power play markers.
It's a penalty fill game, though, eh? San Diego went 1 for 7.
Yeah,
Vancouver 1 for 5, right?
And maybe this is the thing. This is probably the thing that saved Vancouver. Maybe even more so than just the fact that they, showed up in the fourth quarter and scored some goals. Reminder again, who's the top team in the league at the penalty kill?
Right.
It's Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
And San
Proved it
Diego
again
went,
tonight.
San Diego went 1 for 7 on the power play.
Yeah.
So, and
if they go 50%, they win the game.
Yep.
Interesting.
And it looks worse when you consider faceoffs.
Well, 18-2. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
18 of 20 faceoffs for San Diego. So, Baptiste more than outdueling Max Adler. And you have all those extra possessions, and you win the shot battle 51-42.
Yeah.
And you're still losing, and not only losing, but 7 goals. When you had 7 power plays,
right,
and you won 18 of 20 faceoffs. So, I mean, it's definitely concerning. I mean, this was my buy team a few weeks ago, and that again, that was mostly based on schedule and the belief that, they could adopt an identity where they're the best road team in the league, which, they're still in line for that.
Right. Here, Mike, here's the updated standings. And Buffalo, Shawn, is now sitting at 7th, where San Diego's in 8th. So, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
That looks like it's just on goal differential because they have not played each other yet. So that game will be coming up.
Now.
Yeah, that game will be coming up, but there's only one meeting between them, and it's in San Diego.
Right. And well, we don't even see the bottom, and that's Oshawa's on the bottom there, but Calgary is second from the bottom.
Yeah, it's something we didn't mention earlier. That win by Ottawa, little twofold. Not only did it get them 2 games above 500, but they own Oshawa's first round draft pick in 2026. So if trends continue, they just they not only jumped up in the standings, they jumped up on the draft board to number 1 right now. So imagine.
Well, we have a bit of an easier week next week, guys. We have Toronto rocking into Vancouver. Yeah, Toronto rocking into Vancouver, and I'm going to see what Rock team shows up there because and Vegas into Halifax. This is going to be interesting. I want to see the Halifax team that shows up here because Vegas is going to go high octane. Ottawa and Colorado. Another one that's well worth sitting down and watching. Yeah. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy.
I'm hoping Oshawa gets a couple of wins there so Calgary gets down there and Spalina and Cursed.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
With Owen and Hiltz.
And well, if we're gonna talk about that, not for nothing, but how about Spalina and Philly? They own their own pick.
Philly is hurting themselves by winning.
Yeah.
All right, moving along, we have Oshawa and Philadelphia on the Sunday, and we also have Calgary and Rochester on the Sunday. So 2 Sunday games next week. One's at 1:00, and one is at 3:00. Interesting. Yeah, you finally get some wins, Doug. And you're pulling yourself out of the sweepstakes. I'm in the best
Yes,
of both
and
worlds.
then
man.
a
I
reminder that after that slate of games is the trade deadline the next day.
I believe 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. or something like that. But yeah, should be an interesting day. And funny enough, a lot of it's going to deal with what happens next weekend. So interesting. What a week. What a week. And it was Bizarro Land. That's the other thing. It's one thing if everything goes the way we kind of figured it and planned it, and like some years past, where everything just kind of rolls along. But everything was Bizarro Land this week. Did anybody have Buffalo for both wins on the weekend on their bingo card? I sure didn't.
No, four of us had that. Four of us had them dropping both games.
Losing both.
Yeah.
I had Saskatchewan going 1-1, but 2 L's. Didn't have that on my card.
No.
I didn't have San Diego going with 2 L's. I had 1-1 for them as well. The only one that I went on a limb and got right, and that was only a fluke, I think, it was the Rochester one. The rest of them blew up in my face. Well, 4 and 6, they blew up in my face. I can still hear, the kaboom. There's still some fallout here, actually.
Yeah, none of us had Philly winning a game this weekend.
No.
And if I would have a chance to bet it again, I probably would have bet exactly the same way.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah.
But you know what? That day mood factor is huge. When he's on, and we saw it in the President's Cup, when he's on, he can steal it. Yeah. Doug did. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, we did mention, to Doug's comment, there are a couple of guys that Oshawa can move. We talked about Kyle Rubish, for one.
I have a big feeling that he'll retire if you move him. He is 10 minutes from the arena.
Yeah, you can't move him he's not going to move very far.
He'd be close to home and his family. So unless you're moving him to Toronto.
if he's going to a contender, what if you mentioned that Chugger said if they drop both, they would not be buyers.
Well, they won both.
So we have to assume having won both and sitting at 500 now and in a playoff spot, they could be a buyer.
The thing with Buffalo, and this is an interesting thing too, is that the lineup that they put out yesterday had a number of guys that I didn't see, but were feisty. So they actually put some guys out there that weren't part of the regular scope. And remember, Ian McKay was hurt, so he didn't even play. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think if you're Buffalo, if you're Ottawa,
just to put it out there, really.
If you're Buffalo, if you're Ottawa, and I know it's far away, so it sounds like it doesn't make sense, but he was there. If you're San Diego, maybe you're picking up the phone and calling Glenn Clark about Kyle Rubish.
Possible.
Yeah.
Very possible. Anyways, that's going to be an interesting thing that we're going to be chatting about next week on the show, since we only have half as many games to talk about. And we're going to be talking about who we think will be moving and who we think will be selling. And, we'll have a really good idea since the weekend will be over at that point. Not quite the Rubish of old, but I think that he would be a good piece on a contender. He's not going to be your number one defenseman by any stretch, but he will be number 3 or 4.
Exactly. He's providing depth, providing championship experience,
stay-at-home night,
veteran leadership,
and he's won Man Cups as well as NLL championships. So he's well adept at playing with a number of these guys on a number of these teams that are ready to make a play for the championship. So He could be if he's agreeable to it. Make one more push for a championship. That would be pretty interesting. And I think he would be a real asset because he's a great guy and he's going to be a great locker room guy. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, just a reminder to everybody that we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Thread, we're on X, as well as on YouTube, as well as on www.streampunkentertainment.com. Please visit our flagship on Facebook 3, 4, 5 times a day, as the news is always changing, especially with the trade deadline so near, where things will be happening before that trade deadline as well as on that trade deadline. We are your Kostiuk Lacrosse. We are your one-stop shop. We will have everything up to the minute, up to date as quickly as we can possibly get it to you. Doug, thank you so much for dropping in and joining with the show like always. We really appreciate your input. That brings us to last words. Shawn, let's bring it over to you.
Yeah, not much that hasn't already been said. That was a rough week. A lot of things happened that I didn't think any of us saw. And this coming week, honestly, actually, a game I'm kind of interested in is this Oshawa Philly game. Like, you're seeing two teams that are really struggling. I'm just curious to see which one will step up to the plate.
Right. Mike, last words to you.
Yeah, I'm looking at Ottawa and Colorado. I think this is a chance for Ottawa to really step up and to see, if they're pretenders or not.
Right.
Against Colorado team that's kind of coming off a rough couple of weeks.
Right. I am interested in how the Rock represent themselves in Vancouver after this weekend against Buffalo, where they didn't show themselves being great. They started off pretty good, and then they faltered, and the Buffalo pressure got to them a bit, I think. And I want to see how this young squad is able to bounce back offensively and defensively and play a really tough, really athletic, and really tough Vancouver lineup. And, of course, Kristen Del Bianco in there. You thought Matt Mintz was tough. You're not going to get any little gifts from him. So I want to see how their mental prowess is. And I think that will be a big sign to what Jamie needs to do a couple of days after that. Or nothing. And let them grow. So I think there's a lot of notepads out and having a look and guys trying to figure out what they're going to be able to do and what they can't do and what we're, in store for. Because I think the future is very bright. I just think that sometimes, we have to remember that you have to take a step back to go too forward at times. And I think that was a lot of yesterday's game of playing a very savvy 3-time championship team who was really backed into a corner in the weekend and had no really room to maneuver. And the intensity that came at this youth squad, I think, was something that they weren't 100% ready for and didn't adjust well to at times. At other times, I think they did. But I really am enthused about Mark Matthews and what he's doing. And I hope he continues to do that. I'm with you on that one too. As long as you're growing. That's the biggest thing. Just make sure that you are growing. Anyways, that'll do us for this week. We're back again next Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. It'll be a big show because we're going to be talking trade deadlines as well as recapping ALL, PLL, and NLL for y'all. And remember, keep it here with us all across all the time during the week as well at all of our sites because we will have all the news for you as it comes. For Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw, for Muffler Mike over in Connecticut, I'm Gary Groob in Toronto, wishing you the best of weeks. Remember to keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher, and until we meet again next week, have an absolutely fantastic